Am I on vacation or am I working remotely? This one's come up quite a bit more since the pandemic hit, especially since people are pretty much having to take vacations in their homes, at least for a while. But this one is very challenging on a number of fronts because vacations, to me, are supposed to be where you can unplug from work and not actually have to worry about it. And I'll talk a little bit about myself in a bit, but it's hard as it is when you're in these kinds of tech jobs where it follows you 24/7 through normal nights and weekends anyway. And it can be hard to unplug. Whereas working remotely is when you plan on working during normal days, when you're just in another location. And it's a fascinating dynamic that I know through my tech career has changed for me personally. And I'll talk about myself for a bit. So when I was younger, I can't say when I really took vacations. I mean, I can tell you that even when I was an individual contributor, even as a junior manager, I would take my laptop and I would be traveled out of state to one of my favorite places to go. And I usually try to spend a couple of weeks there just because of airline flights and, it costs money and that sort of thing. I make the most of it. But I would end up working a couple hours a day. So was I actually on vacation? I actually think I was working remotely all those years. And I think I did myself a disservice, and here's why. I never really felt at times I fully unplugged and recharged. And I know, let's be clear, some people have no issues with this. So this might not really pertain as much to them personally, other than seeing behaviors of others, which I'll get to and how that impacts a larger team in a bit. But from an individual contributor or as an employee perspective, I don't think I ever really recharged until I actually started taking vacations later on. And I think it's because the mind takes a while to detox of the day-to-day work that follows most of us home in the tech world. I mean, it usually doesn't shut off at 5 o'clock. There are things that happen in the evenings, weekends, particularly if you're ops or compliance or security. Many different roles are that way. So if you never really are able to unplug and kind of let your mind kind of reset, then I don't think you come back fresh. And I think we really saw a lot of that during the pandemic, where people were taking staycations, yet they would be online. And I know I used to have to kick people off. I'd see them come on or answer a mail when I expected a team member to answer it, going, what are you doing online? Now, what I would say is this is a growth area for many people, including myself when I was younger, because you have to have the confidence that you are not that important. I hate to say it, but it's true. Because somebody being gone a week or two, in most cases, isn't going to tank a business or a team. And sure, there might be some things that happen, but I'll explain why I think that's actually important. But as an individual, one, we all have to have the self-discipline to say, look, I'm on vacation. So unless it's an emergency, you can call my phone, but I'm not going to check email. And this is why it's important. And I'll use a very specific example here. I had a manager years ago who frankly would say it didn't matter if they were on vacation or ill. They would say, well, I read and answer every email. Okay, that's my manager, so that's fine. But when they're on vacation, I didn't know when they were going to answer it. I'm running a business. And I knew what the SLA, the service level agreement of this individual would be when they were working. And if I had to wait for an answer, but I didn't know when in the day, because they were on vacation, they were going to answer it, well, that put me in a bind with my partners because I wasn't empowered to make a decision while the manager's on vacation because they wanted to make the decision, but I also didn't know when they were going to answer it. So think about where that puts the people that count on you, whether a manager or an individual contributor who owns a big project, if nobody else is empowered to make a decision when you're on vacation, because you can't let it go. I think it's a huge problem. And so what I would say is, if you think about the impacts of not going on vacation and really unplugging, it can have other ramifications. And I'll speak more of those as a manager in a minute. But what I would say is there's plenty of opportunity for allowing people to make decisions and learn when you're gone. Now, in my personal case, like there's certain paperwork that nobody else can actually sign. I physically have to be the one to sign. I take my laptop, people text me, I sign, I get online, sign the paperwork, and I'm out. Otherwise, I put people in charge and they can make decisions while I'm gone. Now, let's we talked about the individual contributor, and I think everybody who goes on vacation, when you're gone, you should be off and on vacation. That's your time to enjoy yourself with your family, your friends, whatever you're doing, to unplug. And I think everybody should do that, because I don't think you really recharge if you can't let it go. Now, as a manager, what I would say is it's even more important to me that you unplug and let your team handle things when you're gone. And here's why. I used that as my test case for business continuity. I had a manager at one point who had a medical issue, and I had to take over the team. But it's a good test if you're going on vacation in a controlled environment to see how the team would handle, or how your succession plan will handle the situation without you there, without it being high risk. Because they could always call you if it's an emergency, right? Like if it really goes south, they can get hold of you. You're not actually gone. But it allows them the opportunity to learn in your succession planning case to say, how would they actually handle the team when they have the reins? Because that is important. It is different when they know they can leverage your decision making and when they can't. So I use it as a controlled experiment. I go on vacation for 2 weeks. I put somebody in charge, and that person's expected to run the show. Now, they know I'm going to be back in 2 weeks, so how bad can it actually get? But at the same time, they get a sense of what it means having the job. If say my management got tired of me and they told me it was time to go find something else, they could put somebody in charge with continuity. So, but it does take a bit of confidence, and you have to let go of a certain ego to say that you are that important, no matter what level that you're at. Because if you can't really trust the people to run it when you're not looking, well, you can't keep up with all the details, which I talk about in a different one as well about scaling. And I think then you also are doing a disservice to the organization and the learnings of the people who could use that as a valuable training tool. So what I'm really saying is, working remotely, unless you're like going to stay in a place for a month or two because you're helping family members or whatever, but that's working remotely, that's not vacation. So this has been my personal plug for years on getting people to take their vacations, because at any level you're at, you can see how it impacts the organization if you're not there, and you can use that to go fill the gaps later. And it's been a valuable tool for me in particular when I go on vacation, because I get feedback from my peers, from my partners, to say, well, how did things go? And I'll go ask, how did this person do? Or did all this work get done? Or was there anything that was there any continuity issues while I was on vacation? And it allows me to plan even for better coverage for the team later. And not only does it allow me from a business perspective to kind of pressure tests the system of when I'm not available or not there, it also allows some of my key leaders to take more responsibility and actually make the decisions. And again, I'm not saying people should take massive risks with the business on this, but I do think we don't take enough advantage of vacations, particularly when people are gone for 2+ weeks, because it really allows you to go look at the organizational dynamics to see how is it going to work if, say, the person wins the lottery and just decides to retire tomorrow. So what I would say is vacations versus remote working really require people to do two things. As an employee or manager, we just have to realize we're not that important. And the business can run for a week or two without us having to read every email and make every decision that happens during that period. We just have to accept that. And on the other side, we need the individuals who are going to step up and step in, kind of really embrace that and start getting comfortable with making decisions. Because again, if they want to grow and move on to more leadership positions, then they will have to make some decisions themselves. And so that's when I talk about arbitration versus management, is it's a great opportunity to test that across your business or your team or your organization when you do take a vacation, and hopefully not just work remotely. Because again, I think even at times a little pro tip that I used in the past when it got really bad for me in a certain job, I literally would have to put in my out of office, say, I will not respond to any emails during this period of time when I'm on vacation. Contact these professionals and they will help you. If it's important, I will look at it, flag it, and I'll look at it the morning I return. And send it that morning as well, because I'll probably won't get to all those thousands of emails while I was gone for a week or two. So anyway, just a few thoughts on vacation versus working remotely. And I really hope that as the pandemic starts clearing and people are looking to de-stress and start enjoying themselves again outdoors or wherever they're going, I really hope people embrace the idea of taking an actual vacation, but using it as a valuable tool for your continuity plan, your organizations, and for team members that want to grow. Thank you.